going to do a panel discussion, and then we'll open it up for kind of questions and answers. We'll have a couple microphones going around. Again, if you would wait for us to get to you with the microphone so that everybody can hear the question. And so, again, I thought the video was great. I really appreciate Cindy and Pam and Shirley allowing us to play it here for you guys. I'd like to introduce Cindy. So Cindy and I have been working together here for several months. I really appreciate her help getting us to get this whole exhibition set up. Without her help, there's no way we could have gotten this together like we did. Hopefully you noticed we had some of the memorabilia also from Shirley out in the display cabinets and also in the pedestal. So make sure you get a chance to take a look at that. But I would like to introduce Cindy. Maybe a lot of you know Cindy. She's the executive director there for WMNA, so Women in Motorsports North America. And so I'm going to turn it over to Cindy, and she has a few things to say about WMNA, and then we'll get into it. So thank you very much, Cindy.
With a wet noodle from my English teacher, so I'm always conscious of that. But I'm very proud to be here, and I want to start up again by thanking everybody from the Savoy. It's been an absolutely beautiful ride with you, and to be here and see this beauty is just very special. So what is WMNA? It is a community of professionals, men and women, devoted to opportunities for success across all disciplines of motorsports by creating an inclusive, resourceful environment to foster mentorship, advocacy, education, and growth, thereby ensuring the continued strength and successful future of our sport. And we're always being asked, are you trying to change motorsports? No, we are not trying to change motorsports. We are 100% focused on growing motorsports. And every one of you in this room is important to that because people come to see you, right? And you're an inspiration for motorsports. So as I said yesterday, please come to me if you want to, work together. There's a few of you that already have. I'm going to show you just a couple ideas. I have a very short video about who we are. Blake, if you want to get that started. We are about advocating for women in all areas of motorsports.
Not just in the car, but as engineers, as mechanics, as anything you can think of.
And that's one of the cool things about this organization, that you get to see those examples.
I want to show little girls we can do the same thing that the guys can do.
We can get exposure from Mobile One and others. They're going to want to aspire to have an opportunity.
That actually. So moving on, one of our signature programs, and you're all invited to this, but for the last 3 years we've been hosting the Women with Drive Summit. This year it'll be in Indy, December 9th and 10th, leading up to the PRI show. You see 450 women in that and men in that picture. Every event has been sold out. I'm honored to say that Sharon Bronner was there last year, and Diane Parker was one of our keynotes. We had over 98 speakers, 7 keynotes, 58 sponsors, and 450 people attending the event. The other thing Pam and I are so proud of, in addition to Shirley, is our first 2 documentary, Betty Skelton Boundless and Paula Murphy Undaunted. And these are short forms, 44 minutes, also aired on Fox. And we can bring them to your museum. We'd love to talk to you about that. We could either do it as a standalone with the documentaries, or we can do it a curated event just like we are today. I know that Wendy handed out a little flyer for all of you, but we're excited to tell the story of these amazing women. The other thing we can do is bring merchandising program. Many of you have met windy, but we look at this as an extension to celebrate the trailblazer, say that. We have a diverse perspective, historical significance, inspiring role models. We have access to a lot of females in the motorsports industry, educational opportunities, and interactive experiences. Now, Miss Shirley will be shown on March 20th. Shout it out at 7 p.m. on Fox Sports 1. And I want to say thank you, but I also have a couple of thank yous here. Chuck Capel, stand up, please.
There you go.
Chuck is the nephew of Don Garlitz and runs the Don Garlitz Museum. And if you haven't been there, it is a must. And sadly, Don was not feeling well, so he's not here. But if you have any questions about the museum, Chuck's got some flyers, but I encourage you to go see it. You know, along the journey, we've been around for almost 2 years. Next month will be 2 years. And this week I got a call at about 8:30 in the morning from a guy named Ken Lingerfelter and his beautiful wife, Kristen, who are part of our motorsports exhibit with the Z06. Sorry about that. I only dream of driving one of those one day. But he has just made a generous donation of $10,000 to Women in Motorsports North America. He and she, thank you, Kristen. It really means a lot to have that kind of support. And also, just finally, as we have, besides Shirley's amazing car, Shirley is put on loan for the Savoy, her 22 Wallies. That's unprecedented because they've been sitting upstairs in her office for a long time.
A lot of dust.
Yeah, it took me a while to clean them. No, I'm just kidding.
No, she's not.
But you'll notice on the bottom level, there's a really shiny one. That's her first one she ever won. And the reason it's shiny is because she sold her car to Dave Mundell with the Lions Museum, right? No?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry, you're close. He found the car in a dusty old garage somewhere, and he somehow got a hold of it, and the builder, the late Ron Atterbury, went ahead free of charge, and they redid the car show quality. And so I gave the World Championship trophy to Dave Mandela, so he'd have the full package.
And so the NHRA last week at the NHRA Hall of Fame replicated it, and that's this trophy up there. So you've got her first one and her last win against Daryl Gwynn in 1989. And finally, we have a gift for all of you. So when you walk out, you'll get a poster of Shirley Muldowney. Shirley. She wants to sign it already. You're always signing. Next to Richard Petty, there can't be a better signature than Shirley Muldowney.
Absolutely. Well, done?
I'm done.
Done. Okay, great. We can start. Good morning, everyone, and special good morning to Shirley. We have had a number of live presentations here over the last 2 years, and we've had some famous people, but I have to personally say this is a special honor. I've been a Shirley Muldowney fan my whole life, and it's just a thrill to have you here.
Thank you.
So we're going to show a very quick, I know you guys have been filmed out, but we've just, if Blake, if you'll run through our slides here very quickly, just to show that women in racing, it's not a new phenomenon. And like you can run this if you, there we go. So Alice Ramsey, who drove across the country, Lucy O'Reilly Schell, who entered Indianapolis with Renee Dreyfus, Kay Petrie, famous British driver at Brooklands. Can you believe the name Aloha Wanderwell? And this is a woman who drove around the world. You couldn't name her any better. There's 2 books on the subject. People have said that Elizabeth Junek might have been, from Czechoslovakia, might have been the best Formula One driver who happened to be a woman of all time. And of course, here's Helene Nice, dancer, cabaret, hell of a driver for Bugatti. Paula Murphy needs no introduction with land speed records. Betty Skelton, who not only was fast on the ground, but fast in the air. She was a very skilled pilot as well. Pat Moss, Sterling Moss's sister, one of the best rally drivers of all time. Denise McCluggage, a personal friend. I gave the eulogy at her memorial service. Another lady who took on the guys and beat them at their own game. Janet Guthrie at Indianapolis. You saw her in the wonderful film on Shirley here. Deborah Gregg, we heard about in the previous presentation. Lella Lombardi, a lot of people don't realize, in Formula One, a super pioneer. Shirley Shahan, the other Shirley, which we have a question about that as part of our discussion today, who raced Superstock for many years. The incomparable Shirley Muldowney, of which we'll do a lot more talking in a few minutes. Lynn St. James, who, a friend of many of us here, great Indy driver. Michel Mouton, a rally driver, very, very successful and skilled. And then some of our modern drivers, here's Susie Wolf and Danica Patrick. Again, I remember when Danica took the lead in the, I think everybody had a pit, and suddenly there was Danica leading the Indy 500, and I think everyone was thinking, yes, so cool. Sarah Montgomery, and I think we have just one or two more. Emily Arenas will be with us tomorrow. And just a couple more flashes of Shirley. Wally Parks is smiling in this picture. He wasn't always smiling when the subject of Shirley came up, but it's pretty neat after she'd won a championship. Blake, we can flip through these pretty quickly, but I think when people saw that pink dragster, they knew they were up against the best. Okay, so we have a number of questions for Shirley. I always like to say, I can't ask you anything you don't know, but there are a lot of things I think we would like to know. And one of the first questions I wanted to know is, we saw how you started street racing, Jack Muldowney. What was the point where you had a kind of an epiphany moment where you thought, not only can I do this, I can be great at it? Was there a time in your early career where you had that moment, or was it always that way?
I always felt that, I could get the job done, if you will. I was just chipping away at it, really. And there wasn't really a pot at the end of the rainbow. There was nothing there to shoot for. No prize, no big payday, no free ride, no sponsorship. Just driving the car and the thrill of it all was enough to keep me coming. And it just happened to be my timing. My timing was right. I didn't think so at the time, but it was right for the women, for the sport. And I got to see it from a novice, if you will, an amateur, somebody with, I didn't have big thoughts where I was going to go. I just wanted to go. I just wanted to be on time at Fonda Wednesday nights, That was pretty much it. It was a form of recreation for me.
Well, you drove funny cars, and for those of you who saw some of those, I mean, that was a fire waiting to happen. A car that was inherently off balance by its very design, and you transitioned from funny cars to Top Fuel, the scariest, fastest cars. How hard was that to do?
It wasn't difficult at all. It was where I had set my sights. And, the first time I saw Don Garlitz, I thought that car was kind of made for me. From there, the funny cars, I had 3 good years. I got a little tired of getting set on fire, but it was the fact that the motor was placed in front of the driver in the funny car ranks, so you're really kind of asking for it. Back then, the cars were extremely dangerous, and we knew it. But, you always go out there with the attitude, it can't happen to me.
So drag racing, when you think about it, it's certainly about a powerful car, but it's very much about fast reaction times. And you really had fast reaction times. Tell us a little about how you did it, and could you practice it? I mean, how did that work?
Well, it's funny you say that. There are Christmas tree setups that you can buy and practice at home. I never had anything like that. I felt it was really basically a waste of time, more so because, it's, the moment, okay, it's different every time. Depends on who you're racing, depends on where you're sitting in terms of reward, or whether you're a semi-pro or you're a professional. I took it very serious, from the little cars right on up to the big cars. I paid attention to my safety, whether it was Wednesday night at Baton Rouge or Sunday at Indy. I paid strict attention to everything I had going for me, safety-wise, and it definitely, it saved me more than once.
So people said you could psych out other drivers. Would you explain that a little bit?
Well, they did it to themselves, really. It was, I was there. It's, one time we even had pink headers. That's once you warmed it up, the heat would do away with the color. It wasn't very, but it was just a way of getting to them somewhat. And they let it happen. Again, they did it to themselves. And the madder they made me, the better my reaction times were.
Shirley, I saw in the film that you actually were the one that they were trying to psych out, but you were the one that psyched them out.
Yeah, they played all kinds of games. Yeah. We'll take, for instance, Dennis Baca, who never won anything but made one race. He did win a round at Indy, which delivered me the championship in September of that year, which is really something to see, because we still had 3 more months of racing. And but we're just back of the water box. And when the cars warmed, and when they fired the cars and they moved forward, he went from the right lane and pulled right in front of me and took my lane. I was furious.
I bet.
I thought, what a dangerous thing to do. And I immediately went right to the NHRA and complained to They never even scolded him. Couldn't figure that out. Yeah. Still can't figure it out. But they did, they had numerous things that they would try to get my, my feathers up. But I just it went with the territory. I just did my thing. I drove my own race.
Well, that's how you won so many.
That's how plus I had a good car underneath me. Yeah. And I had ability to leave on the call. And, I made short work of any problem that might be out there. I know they just reminded me here a couple days ago that I won the championship and the race at Ontario Motor Speedway in 1980, and I did it with a cracked camshaft.
Wow.
They didn't want to tell me for fear that it might give me a mind trip. And that's why I would never, ever rely on a rabbit's foot in my pocket or a lucky coin here or this or that to have a habit of having to have it. What if you forgot it one day? So, you just don't get anything like that in your head. You kind of go with what you have to work with at that given moment, and 9 out of 10 times it'll work for you.
Yeah,
That's what I tell new drivers.
You were putting the fear in the other guys, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would I'll give you a little story quickly. Getting ready to win 82 World Championship, I watched Mark Oswald, who is now a mechanic on one of the great teams today, he he was doing an interview, and I watched it, and he said, I know what makes her work. I know that when she comes up to the line and she pre-stages the car, she cleans the motor out, you know. Well, when I raced him at the World Finals. And when I come up to the pre-stage light, I winged the motor, and I winged it again. It had to get his attention.
That's psyching him out.
He was dead late on the light. So, you know, you use everything you have that's within, you know, the rules. Yeah. But that was very interesting, I thought. And it worked for me.
You know, you got here this morning, and the first thing you did is went over and climbed in that car. You just couldn't wait.
No.
And without assistance, you just jumped in there.
Well, I didn't just jump in there. Now I'm saddled with 2 knee replacements, and I keep saying, it ruined my life, you know. Well, one thing about it is it keeps me out of the mall. And it's just, you know, I hate it. It's not a pretty walk. And a lot of times I try to overcome it at the racetrack so I don't look like I belong in the handicap section. But it's obviously, I see now, it's very noticeable. I have that gait. And it's because I have, of course, the fused ankle, which would have been, if it was reversed, here's your clutch pedal, here's your throttle. If it had been reversed, my career would have been over, only because I wouldn't have had the range. But think about switching. Think about stepping on the throttle with your left foot and the clutch with your right. Ooh, that just, even the thought of it, it's very awkward. And I'm just thankful. The clutch pedal in the car, if you look at it, it's my son fashioned that overnight for me when I got in the car the night before the first race at Pomona, brand new car, and I said, I can't. Clutch pedal was just like this, a bar. And I said, I can't drive this car tomorrow. I can't drive it. It's because that foot is where it is. So he fashioned this clutch pedal that's flat and wide, and there is no way on earth that I'm going to miss that pedal in there. Mm-hmm. And it's the same pedal. We just took it out of that car and we put it in the next car. Mm-hmm. And we just would take the throttle pedal, or the clutch pedal. And I had to call Garlitz once. I had visions of maybe a deal. I might go back, and I called him. I said, send me that pedal. We need to, redesign it and use it. And make sure you send it back, because that's the best pedal in the museum. He's a piece of work, boy.
So when you talk about that, you're talking about the mechanics of being able to drive again. But what about the courage it took after that accident? You never hesitated.
No, I never lost what I knew best. Everybody has to have, thank God that you have something that you specialize in, and you can work at it, and you can use it in your work every day. You can get paid for it. And it just happened to be drag racing. That was my office, sitting in that car, and I knew it well. Oh. And I got in that car for the first time after the accident, and that was the furthest thing from my mind. To be apprehensive or reluctant or afraid. It wasn't there. Believe me, that thing was a cakewalk. I could, even today, and I don't mean to sound like my head is big, but I could drive one of those cars with my eyes shut.
So that was your office. and they made a movie about you.
They did,
with
yes.
Bonnie Bedelia. I heard you really wanted Jamie Lee Curtis.
I wanted Jamie Lee Curtis. I did not want Bonnie Bedelia. I didn't think she could drive a nail in real life. And, well, she was awful in a car. I went, oh, get rid of her. I don't mean to, poor Bonnie, but not poor Bonnie. She, you know, well, I don't like cars anyhow, and she was doing an appearance at a film festival. You have to excuse me, I'm dealing with some dental work, so bear with me. She was doing this interview for this film festival up in Seattle, and I mean, my phone rang. Some people called me, hey, do you know what she's saying up here? I don't even like cars. Oh, really? Okay, so I took care of that in good fashion. Other than that,
the movie was a hit.
The movie, they did great. They had $6 million. The movie was, the producer was Chuck Roven, R-O-V-E-N, who just won the Oscar for Best Picture this past week.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah. Right, so he went a long way from Heart Like a Wheel to the Oscar. And, you know, I was lucky to be with wonderful people like that. And I wanted it for the sport. He did remortgage an apartment house that he owned, the only thing he owned in the world. He comes from old money in Hollywood, but he did refinance his apartment house in order to finish Heart Like a Wheel. Yeah, quite a guy.
I think it was very successful. I mean, it was one of the best motorsports movies.
It was the best motorsports.
Yeah. I stand corrected.
Yes.
But I liked it. I
Yes.
enjoyed it very much.
Oh, I
Turning
love
this
Heart
off and
Like
it
a
keeps
Wheel.
stabbing.
It's just that, you know, my son, I don't like the Doors. Well, they had him in a Doors T-shirt. I want Van Halen. Okay. But there were just a few things I would have changed. Jack Muldowney did not wreck my race car. What else? I tend to look at the older footage now. I tend to look at it and boy, those cars look like they're crawling. You know, I want to see 300. Because, you know, in the stands, the fans, if they don't see 300, they're up there yawning. So they're spoiled, is what they are. So the sport gives the best show in motorsports. It really does.
Shirley,
That's my opinion.
what was your first car you ever drove at the drag strip?
At the drag strip was a 58 Chevrolet convertible, column shift, 3-speed, and convertible, what else did it have? It had 3 carburetors and open exhaust. That was pretty much it. And I did a fair share of winning with that. Oh. And then I went through 7 Corvettes. If I had just one of those Corvettes today, I'd have a retirement fund. You know, 7 of them I whipped down there.
In the mid-60s cars?
Mid-60s, yes, sir. Right through the 60s.
Yeah. And so that got you transformed into funny cars right after that?
Well, oh, come on, no. Jack Muldowney. I piled what I had, my brag book, into my car, and I drove in my Corvette to Chrysler in Detroit. And I wanted them to, you know, give me a deal. And, yeah, right. So I came home all upset. And
There you go.
There we go. All upset because they didn't hand me a sponsorship, or I couldn't be part of that touring group that they had, Sox and Martin, just to name a few. And from there, Jack decided to build me a little dragster. And he gas welded, which is, you know, the heliarc weld. But no, he didn't have a heliarc. He gas welded this little B-gas dragster up, and lo and behold, there it was. We went to Connecticut Dragway, and I took my driver's test at Connecticut and ran over 150 miles per hour, which was over and above the national record at that time. So the track operator, give me his name again. Frank Murata. He signed the license, and then Darwin Dahl, who was the Division I director, he signed it as well. And away I went. This is it.
Wow.
Beginning of wonderful things until I got the letter from Wally Parks. You are not going to run national events because you haven't done anything that would put you in the group that runs that. And it went on and on and on. It was a drop dead letter. So I went directly to the people at the newspaper that I worked for. And they had a ball with NHRA. And all of a sudden, my phone rang at the newspaper, and it was Wally Parks telling me that my license was reinstated, and I could drive the dragster, but they still denied me national event entry for another 3 years, to 1968. And then I went to the national event in Englishtown, New Jersey, with the little B-gas dragster, and I didn't qualify, but I ran well, and that was the beginning. And then we stepped up and went to a Don Long dragster. Then we went to the Don Long dual-engine gas dragster, and that was it. Still didn't get the attention I needed, so I stepped up and bought a used funny car, a piece of junk from Coletta. And he just reeled us right in, and he saw us coming. But I went out there and I won the very first funny car 8-car show at Lebanon Valley that I entered. I won that night, beat the Ram Chargers and Lou Arrington, and just to name the Sox and Martin team. And we did well with that car. That thing was on fire as well.
So part of the fascination of drag racing is that it gets down to two people. I hate the expression mano a mano, so we're not going to say that, but it's two people in that moment. One is going to win, one is not. And you faced, of course, the best of all time, and you beat them all. So maybe a few words about some of your biggest rivals, and I put Garlitz at the top of that list.
Yeah, well, Garlitz, and of course there was Ivo, who was a very good driver. There's another one that never won an NHRA national event, but he was the showman of it all, and the way he presented himself and his equipment, glass sides on his trailer, so going down the road you could see the car inside the trailer. He was a classy guy. I wanted to excel in the funny car ranks, but I had marginal equipment. And then I went on to order a Butera car that got set on fire at Dragway 42, and that was a terrible ride. And I lost that car to the crusher in the back of the garbage truck on 23 Mile Road in Detroit. So, it had its ups and downs, and I chipped away at it.
Who would you say was the toughest?
You did. That was your question.
I know everybody.
Garlitz was because Garlitz would cheat. Okay, he would cheat, and the other drivers are so intimidated by Garlitz. He could just drive up and drive around all the cars. That's when you got in line and prayed that you'd get a chance to make a qualifying run. Nothing was ever preset then. NHRA had a long way to go in terms of coordination and getting the program set where everybody had a fair shot at it. But Garlitz, he'd drive by everybody. He'd just pull in front, be the first car. Or he would take the lane he wanted. And there were fights like you can't believe at the racetrack because, hey, wait a minute, Don. I won round one, so that gives me lane choice. Oh, no, it doesn't. And we just went at it. Hook, line, and sinker, boy. He was a trip, boy, to deal with.
And when he would go home during the week, I would talk to his engine builder and the guy engineer at home in the garage, who we became friends after the fact. And he said lunch was no fun, but we'd all get a real kick out of it because he would complain and moan and groan and snivel and carry on about, you whipped him, and we just loved every minute of it.
What made that difference where you changed from being bitter rivals to real friends today, huh?
Well, I think the accident made him realized that he was shameful. He was out of line in the early days. I won't begin to tell you the nicknames he had for me. Oh boy, not pretty. And I would get even. Even Richard Tharp, that crazy little Texan, and Ivo. Ivo wasn't as bad as the others. Ivo was pretty good, actually. I have a good little story about Ivo, but it just was, it was a fight all the time, and win or lose, you counted on the door, another mark. So I had the most wins. Don't let him kid you for a minute. I had the most wins. Ivo, I did a whole lot of match racing with Tommy Ivo, and he would pound it in my head. You can't get a dime over 750 for 3 runs. And that back then, that was a lot of money. And I raced him one Sunday in Columbus, Ohio. It wasn't a national event. It was just a match race, and with the stands were full. And he said, 750. Okay, well, at the end of the day, when the stands were empty and we were packing up, I walked down to the starting line looking for the promoter and my check for the day. And here he come in his big old Cadillac, and I caught him. I was on the passenger side, and he handed me my envelope. Took off down the racetrack looking for Ivo. When I opened the envelope, he had given me Ivo's check by mistake, and it was for $1,000. I never match raced Ivo again. That was it. He was done.
So they called him TV Tommy.
TV Tommy,
because
yes.
he had some television appearances. But
he was one of the Musketeers. I have to get that in there.
Would you blame him a little bit, or probably credit him a little for the pink dragster and cha-cha? And
I
all
would
that?
credit him with a lot of things. Tommy was a great competitor and a good friend, and still a good friend today. Yeah, great guy.
You can't call him in the daytime. He's a night owl.
Oh, you don't call him before 2 in the afternoon.
That's
yes.
really funny. We did show a picture of Shirley Shahan. Did you know her at all? She
never met her. Shahan is
sorry.
the name.
Yep.
And she drove, of course, she was part of the clique. She was in there with Chrysler. Oh, really? Okay. Well, I'm going to build a dragster and blow your doors off. So, she had this Chrysler car, and she won Pomona. And that's really the only thing she ever did.
Right.
But she didn't do much match racing, but some. And other than that, she just, kind of fell by the wayside. But she did get the ink. She did win Pomona. And no, I never met the woman.
Well, she didn't drive scary, crazy,
No.
super fast cars.
Yeah, push button, automatic, All right. Okay, it's nothing wrong with that, but,
Say no more.
Yes.
Well, you paved the way. That's such a funny
I
little
showed it could
little
be
thing.
done.
You showed it could be done. And
Yes.
do you feel that it made it a little easier for women today? Are they getting
Absolutely.
that resistance, that outright antagonism that you had to work your way through? Is it better today?
It's cakewalk.
Mm-hmm.
The dirty work is all done.
Yeah.
And now the doors are wide open because it's very difficult to fill that field. They take the quickest 16. That's what race day, that's who goes to the starting line, and that's who goes to the pay window. And I remember when it was 32 cars field. You'd look down in staging lanes, you'd look down the road, and there's 75 top fuel cars. And I had to weed my way through all that. So the ladies today have it made to order. Yeah, it's good for them, and believe me, they get a couple runs, they do a couple TV interviews, get their picture on National Dragster, and you would think that they won the championship. It's a new day, oh boy, that's good. I want to see more women in the sport, especially in the upper ranks, and they're coming through the semi-pro ranks, alcohol classes, and so on, and that's the way that it should be done. But there are some that just jump right in a top fuel car, and they're going to come race Shirley on Sunday. That does not delight me, because they don't have the seat time. And, NHRA, they want to fill that field. So it's, I just hope and pray that male or female, I don't want to see anyone go through what I went through in '84. It was a
Did
bad
Parks
ride.
ever really thank you for filling the stands?
Who?
Parks.
You
filled the
it's
stands.
funny.
I mean,
That's
you know.
funny. I sold a lot
wanted
of
to see
tickets
you.
for them. Parks it's hard to figure what he was thinking, but he was a gentleman. He was, fairly friendly to me, and then he realized that I tried to get them to open up and let the racers sell their wares, sell their souvenirs. That would keep us alive to the next national event, Wally. Okay, but no. They had sports services, sold all the souvenirs. We couldn't give anything away. Well, guess who owned sports services? Wally Parks' brother-in-law. So, you know where I'm coming with it. And I fought that from day one, and they didn't appreciate that. I would get letters, Shirley, we don't do fire burnouts. Well, the fans love fire burnouts, and we did that a few times. And one time I did it over at 131 Dragway over in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I pulled up to the water, and they poured gasoline down, and he lit that thing, and went, shoo, and I stepped on it, and it went, well, there was no oxygen, and it didn't want to take the throttle. I just stepped down right almost to the floor and was able to drive out of it. But, another driver with no seat time wouldn't have known to do that, at least some of the girls. So I feel there are some that are not in the right place. They scare me a little bit sometimes when they can't find the lights on the starting line. And what are they doing up there? So, it's not for me to judge, though, because when I judge, it makes me look bad. And I don't want to look bad, but I also don't want to see anyone get hurt.
I'd love to ask you about Connie Kalita. and the reason is, the reason is pretty obvious, but you had every kind of possible relationship, student, teacher, personal.
Yes.
That had to be, in some ways, the toughest person to beat.
It was a bad 7 years. And after he came back and got in a car, and he painted it the same paint scheme as mine, where it says Shirley Muldowney, it said Conrad Coletta. And he didn't have $1 billion back then. He had $600 in the bank when I met him, and he drove a junk Mustang that Ford gave him. Today, he is a billionaire because he is a great pilot. He has the pilot in the air freight business down to a science. And he has done a wonderful thing for himself. He has like 25 747s, just to give you an idea. A very smart man.
He goes to
Extremely smart guy.
goes to places nobody else wants to go, though.
I remember the first one, they hired him to fly some dynamite caps.
I swear I'm turning this thing off, but it keeps coming back on.
Some dynamite caps over to England.
He clearly.
And he decided to go up where it's real icy and snowy in his Twin Beach. And that was quite a trip for him. But he, fearless, absolutely fearless. And he's a great pilot. He is blind in one eye. You notice he's got that look, okay, that we call him. Tharp would call him, he'd call me Kaka, and he'd call him Cockeye. That's what I put up with then. And Coletta's got, he has that one eye that goes, off to the right. Well, he would favor the right lane. That way he could look to the left. He's not blind in that eye. He sees shadows. But he, let me tell you, he would take every advantage of everything that was, on his side. He would try to get that right lane. I started winning races, and I would take the right lane. Do you want to get dirty? Okay, we'll get dirty. So, Conrad is quite the competitor. Not a great driver. He probably would hate to hear this from me, but he is not a good driver. That's my opinion.
When you look back and you have a phenomenal memory, as many racers do, the details, that's what makes you a great racer, that you can remember that. And I'm wondering if there's anything you might have done differently from the perspective of time.
I get that question a lot. I don't know how to answer that, because I know that there are things that, I could be a hothead back then. I was quick to react. I'm sorry for that Jack Muldowney got left in the dust. I am sorry about that. He didn't deserve that. But I was moving on, and nothing was going to stop me. What, for a trophy, or, I can't really say what I was thinking back there 45 years ago.
Right.
But I love drag racing more than anything, and I still do today. I do it for love.
Would you tell us about your? Thank you. Yeah. Would you tell us about your Shirley's Kids charity?
Yeah, Rob Geiger, who's a PR guy around, and he's had the Geico team, and he's had the Lucas Oil team, and he's a good man. He introduced me to a businessman in Houston. I was at the SEMA show 5 or 6 years ago, and I was flying back home to Charlotte, and he says, "We're not going to Charlotte. I got 2 first-class passes here for that airplane, and we're going to stop in Houston." And I met this businessman who owns like 13 Mexican restaurants, the Lupe Tortilla restaurants in the Houston area. Oh, God, if you're ever there, go. It's the best Mexican food you'll ever eat. And we went there, and I met Stan Holt and his lovely wife, Sheila May, and they're both drag racers. They drive street-type cars, door slammers. That's what I call them, door slammers. And I go to Stan, we got to get you up, put you in a car, let you warm up, let you warm a top fuel car. And he looked at me and went, "Shirley, I don't want to go any faster." And I have the greatest respect for that man. There aren't too many out there that would say that or admit they don't want to go any faster. But he had this idea. He loves children, and he wanted to form a charity for sick children challenged is a better word, because we come in and take control and bring a child to the race on Sunday, first class, the best seats, the best food, the best vantage point, the best everything. They get a day at the races, first class. And at the end of the day, Stan hands the kid a check for $5,000. And that's what I'm doing up there at the races now, selling posters. And I can go in. Stan made me raise the price. I was selling them for $10, signed, beautiful, heavy-duty poster. Stan says, Shirley, that's too cheap. I'm telling you, Shirley. So he says, we are doing a different deal this year. We're going to raise the price to $20, and I guarantee you, I've had one person complain all last year, one person, $20, and they come up and they get their poster, and sometimes I'd have been give me a $500 check down in Gainesville. So the fans have really accepted Shirley's kids, and they've been very generous and very good. And Stan is going to bring 3 children to the Dallas race. Oh, boy, 3. Oh, this ought to be. But they're going to get their $5,000 check at the end of the day. He's quite a guy.
Fabulous. Truly
yeah,
fabulous.
It's wonderful. It's just wonderful.
Did you enjoy the film?
What a compliment. And this, I sit here and I look at that and go, it's about you. It's not about not about the sport, but it is. It's about me and the sport. Mm-hmm. And I'm so thankful that I was able to hang in there all these years and look at what it has brought to me. A lifestyle, wonderful friends. Hasn't made me rich, but if I'd just stay out of the mall, I'd be rich. Yeah, it's given me so much. I can only wish that I've given back that much.
Well,
I think I have.
We think you do.
I think I
truly
have.
think you do. So Pam, you've made 3 of these documentaries now. This one is really emotive. I've now seen it 3 times, and I well up when I watch it. So tell us about the challenges of making a film like this.
Well, Shirley and I, we've been working on this for 10 years, trying to get this done. This was a true passion project for all of us. And it's wonderful because you have her to tell her story, and trying to put 45 years of racing into a small amount of time is a challenge. There's so much more to be told because she's just had such an amazing life and career. I would say that was probably the biggest challenge, because you want to find the balance of her passion, her life, her loves, her frustrations and her anger and all that, and you only have so much time. And it all happened over 45 years. So it was a challenge, but it took 3 years to put together once we got the green light. And we're just happy that Shirley's had the opportunity to tell the world in her words, pretty much, her story.
So Cindy wants to make it even harder, because one of the questions she wrote on here is, describe Shirley in 1 word.
Oh, dear.
Gosh. Relentless.
Perfect. Perfect.
In every way.
Yeah, absolutely perfect.
Even getting in the car this morning.
That was before the knees, God, they've ruined me. I'm telling you.
Do you have a subject for your next documentary?
We're discussing that now. We wanted to get through this one first, but
right,
because this was pretty daunting to put all that into the time slots that we have. So, but we're debating.
How will people see it?
Wednesday night is the premiere. March 20th, Wednesday night, 7:00, FS1, Fox Sports 1. It will air for the next few months on Fox Sports 1 and Fox. So just check the promos and listings, and then it'll be available on streaming, on demand, all the places that you're used to seeing it. So, but You know, everybody at the network's really excited to tell the story.
It's special, for sure. So we have time for a few questions. We've got Bruce and Tom with microphones, so have at it.
This is kind of an elementary question.
You've got to get a microphone first, sir.
It's kind of a silly elementary question, and I feel sad asking it, but do you know how many times you beat Don Garlitz?
You know, I don't know really.
Well, I would say in her defense, though, it was 50-50 on national events. I have the numbers, but match racing, she probably was way out. They didn't keep numbers on match racing. So match racing is...
What were those 50-50 numbers?
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I knew you were going to ask that. I should have looked at my notes, but it was 50-50 in the end.
But I mean, how many 50-50?
It was probably 10 and 10. Somewhere in there, in national events. I'm round. Don't hold me to that, but somewhere in there. Not to overspeak, but I do those stats. She beat Connie more than anybody, 15 times in her career. She beat him more than, and that doesn't count match races because those old records don't exist. Match races.
You know what a match race is? It's a promoter, a track promoter, that brings in a couple superstars, and then they have their local heroes and will race against them. But it fills the stands. You would think Englishtown on a Wednesday night, you would think it was a national event. Crazy. Yeah.
And I will say to that, though, like one point that was made the other day, which I think a lot of people don't think about, is that when they were at the height of their rivalry, there were 6 national events. Most of her career, there were 6 national events until much later when the NHRA went up to 30 events. So it's not like today where there's 30 weeks to try to win an event. There were 6, sometimes less, depending on the year.
Anyone else?
So, Connie, it was Connie Coletti, the one that complained about the $20 poster with that.
No.
My question though is did you have any other hand in racing, any other kind of racing, or any offers to race in different kind of race cars?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, I had an offer for a NASCAR car, and I took a trial run in a car back in '77, I think. Don't hold me to it. And it was, I spun it out enough where I almost got the car owner's Cadillac that was parked on the infield. So, but it did not appeal to me. It just wasn't there for me.
It's a great question.
Shirley, quickly. In the movie, it's briefly mentioned about the guff that your parents were giving you. Was there any type of resolve, or did your relationships change with your parents after you started?
With my parents? Yeah, well, when I got big, if you will, that's what they say in Excecutive now, well, before Shirley got big. My father died when he was 49. That's not, no one really mentions that. So he never got the chance to see me run. He saw me drive a 63 Wedge 426 Hemi Plymouth car, which was loaded with all the radio heater, against a factory experimental Dodge, but it was a standard shift. My car was a push-button automatic. And Charlie's standard shift car had aluminum front end, and none of the niceties that went along. No radio, no heater. It was strictly a race machine that you bought off the showroom floor. You could do that back then. So my father was thrilled to death when he got to see that, but he never got to see the big cars. My mother did. She was there when I won my first national event in Columbus in 1976, and she was there at Ontario when I whipped their bottoms. Boy, let me tell you, I beat on them like an old drum, and she was thrilled beyond words. She had never been on an airplane prior to that. I had a crew member that flew with her to and from, and it was a big day for me. She was there when I put Bernstein away in Vegas in '03 and ended his chances for a world championship. He sat in his car for a half hour after, suited up, 95 days, suited up. He wouldn't get out of his car. Well, he looked silly. So anyhow, they all have a way of taking the bad news. Hey, the bad news is there. And are they glad I'm not there now? The girls, that Force's daughter, I have not yet to see her stage last. Oh, she gets right in there. You know what she's going to do. I've not seen any of the girls with the top light out. What that means is the pre-stage light. It puts you closer to red lighting, but it also puts you 8 inches closer to the finish line. And sometimes that counts nowadays. So I put the top light out all the time. And then by the time, what you do is you pull up and you pre-stage, he pre-stages. And you sit there, 1001, 1002, 1003, because you have 7 seconds. But if both lights are lit, you could sit there and burn it down, and they can't do a thing. Well, the more you do that, the level of that fuel is going down in that tank. And you do not ever want to run out of fuel with the throttle down. Ooh, it's a big explosion. So with the 2 pre-stage lights lit, I wait until it's now, and I'll put the second light on, the stage light. This is, you shouldn't be moving any way. Certainly not backwards, but you're not moving from that point. You're set, you're ready to go. And I'm waiting for him to put his last light on, and as he's putting that last light on, I drop the top light out by rolling it a little bit further. And it gets, the light is on, the green is on. Well, you see the green, you've lost. You don't ever see the green because it's over. There's 0.4 of a second between the yellow coming on, going off, and the green coming on. It's 0.4 of 1 second. It's just timing. It's just timing, and you just gotta, don't, leave the rabbit's foot at home. Don't rely on any of that, anything like that. It's just, I'm serious. You just have to take it as it comes. Every race is different. But putting the top light out really is a science, and I had it down pat.
Wow. Anyone else up there?
Thank you. This has been just remarkable. Slightly unrelated. Heard you say Van Halen and saw the great picture of Freddie Mercury. You have excellent taste. Clearly, excellent.
Can I? They don't want me to talk. I'm in love with Freddie. I've been in love with Freddie for 30 years. I would swim the Atlantic to be with Freddie. But he's gone, and I hate that. When he died, I was crushed. Took me a long time to get over it. What a guy.
I'd be in the boat in the Atlantic right next to you while you were swimming. So, are any other major heroes, inspirations when you were young, excelling in the field? Anybody that you can think of that was like a guiding light for you, a shining star in the night sky?
Other than Freddie, he was so, I'm sorry.
No. What is she wearing?
Freddie.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I have 4,200 pictures of Freddie on my phone. 4,200. I keep buying space so I can add, I don't have that one. Oh, I don't have that one. It's, but everybody's aware that I've never loved anyone as much as I love him.
One rock star loving another rock star, right?
All right, Ken, we got one more.
Shirley, thank you for being here.
Where are you, honey?
I'm up here.
There you go.
We so appreciate you being here, your inspirational story. Thank you so much for that. I'm at the Model T Museum in Richmond, Indiana, and I want to invite you up to race some of our Model Ts.
Oh, that's the coolest place. That's a very cool place.
I'm kidding. Top speed is 35 miles per hour. There's no zeros on that. I just wondered, do you have any regrets?
Oh, bless you. I knew that was coming. Jack, he's gone now. I drove like a maniac from Detroit to Schenectady to get there before he died, and I made it. And he smiled when we walked in his room. Yeah, that bothers me. That I spent so long with Coletta, 7 years, because it really took its toll on me. He was just difficult. Come on, Shirley.
John?
My John. Well, you know, the sport, it's just funny way, not a funny way, but it cost me 2 marriages, and I lost my son because I was not paying attention to what I should have been. He was part of the team, and they go do their thing and whatever. But to lose him was horrible. My only child. He was born when I was 17. We grew up together, and what a wonderful guy he was. I had no idea that he was a full-blown, functioning alcoholic. Well, I found that out when he came to live with me. After my divorce, he called me. He only was 20 miles from me. I hadn't seen him in 4 years. He was away from the race car. And I said, well, he can help me. I can help him. Yeah, okay, Jeff. Oh, my God. A couple days turned into 5 years. And in that 5 years, I learned a lesson. And I was too late to help him. I tried everything I could think of to get him to rehab, and he would not bite. So that's the hardest thing for me. To lose John was like, and what a drag racing textbook. He knew he could tell you every race, every win. He'll tell you the reaction time. The reaction time. It's amazing what he carried with him. And he did the bottom end. He backed me up, but he did the bottom end. That was between rounds. That's when we dropped the pan. Now they just changed the bullet, that's because of all the money in the sport. But we dropped the pan and would service the rod bearings and the main bearings and whatever. Never once in 33 years that I drove nitro did it ever start and I watched the oil pressure gauge go down to 0. That never happened. That was John's job, and he never failed me even once. Great guy. Handsome too. He liked all the race queens. If he didn't have the Winston girl on his arm, he wasn't satisfied.
Thanks, everyone. And Shirley, we can't thank you enough.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks for coming. I love you all. Go to the drags.
Can I take a picture of you all doing that, please? Don't. Yeah, keep going. Wait, let me get a video. Wait, hold on. Okay, wait, now I'm going to do a video, so. She'll watch that every night. In between her Freddie Mercury pictures, because I've seen them all. I promise.